If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout. Thank you for tuning in to another episode where we're learning why writers are writing and why you should be writing your story too. We've had many authors and many people on this show to share their writing journey of why they've written their book and, what their books are about. Today, I have someone on who's really going to be able to help you to start writing some of your story. I have Judith Breier on, and she is from Northampton, Massachusetts. She is my IWWWG sister, which is the International Women's Writers Guild. She is a certified life legacy trainer and facilitator. She's a Sage-ing leader from Sage-ing International, and she's a certified instructor of the AWA writing method. We're going to talk about all of that today, and we're also going to even talk about how she trained as an end-of-life doula and as a hospice volunteer. It's kind of something her and I share in common besides writing. As a legacy writing facilitator, she teaches legacy letter writing and much more. And I'm proud to say that she will be one of the instructors here at the 3rd annual yWrite Writers Conference. She's been teaching classes like this and similar for the past 3 years here at the conference. It's a very popular class. You're going to find out why, and I want to welcome her to the show right now so we can learn. Judith, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and I really want to thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you so much, Angela.
100% allow you to do it. Are you kidding me? This is a privilege for everyone watching to have you here to share this. You've been working with the topic of aging like your whole life, and it's something that all of us are doing. I mean, all of us are going to be aging, and, all of us will be dying, spoiler alert. Yep. So, we come to this realization of what do we want to leave behind? We're all going to have some kind of legacy. So, of course, when I heard life legacy letters, can you tell us a little bit about what a life legacy letter is? Because it's not a will.
Yeah, I think I want to also share with the thought about legacy, what does that mean? Because for different people, it means different things. Mm-hmm. For some people, it means that their legacy is in how they interact with people, how they interact with grandchildren, if that's part of their life. Others, I know somebody who bought a bench at Look Park in Northampton. Mm-hmm. That was her legacy. I know a man who who gave money to UMass, to the Israeli-Palestinian departments, to always every year have lectures about how these two communities can
that's awesome.
co-live together. And the challenges that prevent that, and then the inspiration about how this could unfold for the Middle East.
Yeah, because a lot of times legacy becomes your memory of what you remember of someone, but when you're leaving some sort of tangible
that's right
product,
that's right,
it's different.
It is different. And then there's writing legacy letters, doing memoirs, things like that, which are more in writing form, obviously. And my favorite way of leaving legacy, or at least one of them, is through legacy letters. And I chose that because when I started thinking about writing a memoir, I became incredibly overwhelmed. I'd sit in front of the white page on my computer and be just I'd start, and then it'd be there was nowhere where I could drop in because I'm thinking,
a lot of people are shaking their head right now going, I get that, I get that.
Yeah, oh my God, all right, I have to do at least 100 pages, and it was overwhelming. And then I met Rachel Freed through Sage-ing International, and I took one of her classes. She's the founder of Legacy Letter Writing, and it's a beautiful, easy way that everybody can access writing. Mm-hmm. And also sharing their legacy and their value through values, sharing their values. Yeah. It's a beautiful way to belong. It addresses the need to belong, to be remembered, to celebrate life experiences, to make a difference, to share your values, and to put one's life in order.
Well, writing definitely helps me put my life in order because
Yeah,
even if you're doing your to-do list, it just helps you to get it on the page to
Exactly.
see. How long have you been? Of course, I want to say how long you've been writing, but how long have you been teaching? Because you've been teaching these writing classes for a long time and taking writing classes.
That's right. So I began writing my writing journal more formally with through Amherst Writers and Artists,
Which you're certified writers, and I do share a little bit of what the AWA method is. I mean, it's pretty simple, but some people are like, "What's AWA?" And if you're doing memoirs, it's very important.
Yes, AWA is an incredible writing process, and written by Pat Schneider. This book, by the way, if you're interested in AWA writing, is Writing Alone and with Others by Pat Schneider. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. And what I love about AWA is that it treats the writing and the characters in the writing as characters, even if it's an I, even if you're using the pronoun I. And and it also sees the writer as an author, so it supports us in being able to write more honestly.
Yeah, and it separates you a little bit, especially when you're sharing these pieces, because if people are going to be able to read or hear them, then treat it like a fictional
exactly
story.
right. That's exactly right.
When it's a memoir, it's truth, but it still just separates you a little bit like, oh, this is a really good story. I wonder where it's going.
That's exactly right. So many people have been traumatized about their writing through school because of that red pen. And what I love about
That's me.
And me too. I never saw myself as a writer because of that. And what I love about AWA writing is that when you're in an AWA group, which you can find online through Amherst Writers and Artists, you can find groups and trainings and so on and so forth, that they're sharing, people reflecting what worked in your piece. And after time, you begin to build skills based on what worked. And then, of course, if you want a manuscript critique, you can get that
I've been writing at the Springfield Museum for I'm going to say 7-8 years now, and they use the method, and I love it because they will say, I really liked this part of your piece, or I want to hear more of this, which allows you to know what needs to be worked on in a positive, constructive way. It's definitely not critical at all, and there's no red pen.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of writing groups with the children, with my middle school kids, and after school programs, and also was the way I taught writing. And it's amazing how when you're not criticizing people, there's different forms of writing, so I'm just speaking about creative writing here in this instance, how creative people can be.
Yeah, because when you want to tell a story, and this is one of the reasons why that kind of halted me from writing is, I'd write, you're putting your soul on the page, and then when the teacher's correcting the grammar and the punctuation and the tenses and all this, and it's like, and now as an adult I realize, like, get it on the page, see if the story works. If it's working and you're telling the story, then you can run it through that editing process to do that.
Oh yeah.
But if someone's not listening to the story and they're so concerned with structure
or punctuation,
you're gonna freeze and say, forget it, I'm not doing it.
Exactly, and that's what we see, or what I've seen in schools, and that's why I love this.
And when you're teaching the legacy letters, which we're going to get into that, because you guys are going to love this. Everybody can do it.
That's right.
It is really putting the words on the page. Don't worry about the punctuation. Don't worry about finding that perfect adjective, because you can always go back and edit it if you need
That's
to.
right.
But just to word it, get it on the page, and have that letter left behind as a legacy, which isn't I'm dead now and I. No, it's not that. So let's go into what that is.
Yeah, so legacy letter writing is a simple writing process with 4 steps. So first of all, when people come to my legacy groups, what I'm doing is I'm presenting a theme. It might be aging, it might be names, it might be about the stuff you have in your house, it might be about the inner stuff, the secrets that you haven't shared, or family secrets, friendship, self-care. But within each theme, I provide many different ways of entering into that theme. And then from there, it's a 4 structure there's four segments. One is you're giving context. The first paragraph is context. Yeah. The second paragraph is your story. The third paragraph is what you've learned from that experience. And then the last piece is a blessing that you're giving to the person that you write, or it can even be for future generations.
I love that.
And it's simple. It's really simple. It can take 20 minutes. It can take several days. It depends upon how much you want to edit your letter. You can give that letter to people, the person you wrote it to, anytime you want. It's not like this is only for my will.
Right.
You know, it's like, which is more like an ethical
it does show your own personal ethics, sharing your own ethics with someone, or sharing what's important to you and why it was important, whether it's a moment or a piece. I did take some classes with you, and I remember one time we did take an item that you might want to give to someone. Why would you give them that item? Tell them the history of that item. Like, I have whether it's a teapot from Portugal, and you shared the experience of going to Portugal and what the teapot represents for you that you hope now can live on with whoever you're gifting it to. And saying, like you said, a blessing, like, I hope you make memories with this teapot. Who knows, maybe a new neighbor moves into town and you use it for the first time, and now you've created your own new memory with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about stuff, because that's one of my objects, because that's one of my favorite things. When my parents died, I ended up with an enormous amount of stuff in my basement. And what was really tragic about it is I didn't have the story behind
and then
the items.
You want to get rid of it, but then you don't know.
You don't know, and you don't have a context for it. And so I knew, like, I had these candlesticks that were made by, I knew they were made by a relative, not sure who. I knew it was my grandmother's brother somewhere, but didn't know who. I didn't know what its meaning was about. And so here I have this, but I don't have the story. And so when we give things to our children or to our friends who we love, that things that are valuable to us, and we include a legacy letter with that item, we're now giving context.
Clarity.
Yeah, we're giving context, and also why it's important and what the value is that you're paying forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I have a letter that I wrote to one of my daughters.
All right, we definitely want you to read it.
Do you want me to do it now?
Yeah, no, read it, because this is it'll be a great example of what a legacy letter is. And
so I'm going to give you a little bit of background in order to understand this. First of all, my daughter went through IVF for 7 years, and finally got pregnant. And this was huge, because she had a lot of losses in this process of IVF. And I happened to be at the baby's birth, and whose name is Jude. And Mother's Day was around the corner.
For Grandma Judith.
That's exactly
I love
right.
That. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, would be Judith. And I was so surprised. But so I had brought, so Mother's Day is around the corner, and I had no idea what to give her. What would be like buying flowers or a trinket did not
always buy flowers, but I was a florist, so I will always.
Exactly, but with that, it was sort of like what for something that's so monumental as the birth of a healthy baby that she'd worked that her and her husband had worked so hard for. What could I give them? Well, I'll share with you. When I went to Boulder to give her, to be at the birth, before the birth, I gave her a necklace with a gold pendant that was my grandmother's. And it had my mother's teeth marks in it, because when my grandmother was holding my mother, she would as a baby, she would grab the pendant and start chewing on it. So that was my gift. She didn't appreciate it at all. It kind of was like, oh, thank you, and then it went in a drawer. So I was like, you know what? I didn't give the story.
Right.
And so here's the story. This was for Mother's Day, and my daughter's name is Alyssa. My dearest Alyssa, as your first Mother's Day approached, I found myself wondering what could possibly be offered that would honor such a sacred threshold. What could mark this moment in a way that felt true? Flowers felt too fleeting and trinkets too small. None of it seemed to carry the weight of the beauty, the depth of what this day means for you, for Jude, for all of us. And then I remembered the gold pendant. I gave it to you when I arrived in Boulder, quietly, without much explanation, but it has a story, a lineage, a kind of humble magic woven into its very metal, and now it feels like the time to tell you why it matters. When I was a little girl, one of my favorite things to do was to open my mom's jewelry drawer. I'd pull out each piece slowly, reverently, as if uncovering treasure. But there was one I always returned to, the pendant. I would hold it in my fingers and run them over the tiny indents on its surface, the ones my mom told me were made by her baby teeth. Ami, my grandmother, Edith Friedeberg, wore it when she was holding my mama, teething, and those little marks were left by her. I was in awe. I often wished that my mom had worn it when Michelle and I were babies, and that I had worn it when you and Kalia were teething too. But by the time I was raising you, it was still tucked away in that drawer, hidden under old jewelry boxes, holding its quiet history. When Omi and Opie died, and Michelle and I sat there with their things, I knew immediately this pendant was meant to stay with me. Michelle didn't have children, and something in me hoped that one day one of mine would, and that a new little one would make their own mark on it, just as your grandmother had done. So before I came to Boulder for Jude's birth, I knew it was time. I gave it to you, trusting that you might wear it once or twice while Jude was teething, so he too could leave his imprint. It's a small gesture, yes, but somehow it feels timeless, holy even. And now as Jude becomes part of this growing chain, Judah, Judith, Jude, it seems clear to me that this pendant isn't just jewelry. It's a thread in our lineage, a living artifact, a sacred object, one that carries the marks of love, blood, breath, and story. Mm-hmm. I never could have known how deeply becoming a grandmother would change me, but it has, profoundly. Something in me is shifting, widening, and I feel the hum of lineage in my bones now. What it means to belong to something greater than myself, to hold a place in the great circle of women, mothers, grandmothers, and children yet to come. This pendant is a symbol, yes, but it's more than that. It's a vessel, a spell, a blessing that will only grow stronger as it passes from hand to hand, child to child. My prayer is that you and the generations that follow will continue to treasure these threads of legacy, that you'll feel the beauty of what came before you and the power of what you're creating now. It has taken me a lifetime to begin to understanding the fullness of this, and I want you to inherit not just the pendant, but the ripeness of that knowing. Happy first Mother's Day, my darling girl. I love you with my whole being, and I will always, always be with you and your beautiful family. With all my heart, Mama.
Such a timeless piece, and so nice to get when your mother is alive. But it's a piece to treasure for always, because your voice is there. The voice is there. And the journey of just seeing the necklace, and it's so visually stated as you tell the story, like tucked under the jewelry, and then, part of the, the soul and the blood and the, it's so moving. And that's what I love about your class, because, you're really teaching people to give, not necessarily leave, but give something from their soul to cherish. So whether it's the necklace or the letter, and the words just stay with you, and it becomes like this love song.
Yeah, and it also articulates what I find important, which is this idea of lineage, this idea of valuing our own lineage and our line within our own personal lineages, and how
So, I was just thinking, the Writers' Conference, which is November 1st, you're teaching in the morning this class, and I have a woman from Arizona coming in who's teaching matriarchal lineage.
Oh, beautiful.
Writing. And I'm thinking those two, beautifully mesh
they were
together.
Together.
Yeah,
in a beautiful
very,
way.
very nice.
Yeah.
Doing this I just said in the beginning that, you're trained to do end of life doula, and you've done hospice, and, that's something that I also do. And I find, like, when you're sitting with someone who is dying, they have stories to tell. They have stories to share. And I almost feel like this is a way that the families could help them to write the letters for them when they're telling these stories.
Yeah, the work I do is really life completion work, because I do other things as well within the realm of aging and eldering, and run other classes on different topics. But legacy is definitely one of those things that as we're coming closer to our passing, that we start thinking about, like, what is my legacy? How do I want to pay forward or leave behind elements that reflect who I am, who I am in my heart.
Well, I like how you said important. Like end of life, like completion, because it's so beautiful. When you're sitting with someone who's 91 or 95 and they're peacefully passing, and you see that their life has been completed. But when it's someone who still has stuff that want to complete, like, you want to be able to help them.
That's right. And
it doesn't matter the age. We all have, we don't know how long we're going to live, but hopefully we all live to 130, which I say that's what I'm going to do. 130 in age or weight. One or the other. I'll be 130 when I die.
And in good health. But yeah, it's really important. And what's beautiful about being conscious about this as we age is that you don't necessarily want to wait until you're on that deathbed to have to do this work. What's really potent is to begin doing this work before you are passing, or have that critical what is it called? The critical information from a doctor that you might be terminal.
I've always done this thing, like, right around my birthday, I will kind of write, like, a letter, whether it's to myself or to my former self or my future self, doing that, like, kind of reflection of, this is what I've been through, this is where I want to go, this is what I've learned. So even just doing it on a personal level, like,
well, that's what it creates
excavates
meaning.
The meaning for yourself.
That's right.
And whether you're leaving that letter for someone else to read or you're helping yourself,
that's right.
It's so powerful to do. Writing is so powerful. It's so healing.
Yeah, I've had people come into my groups, and a group I've done, and I'm running, and they haven't thought about a specific theme, and suddenly they're thinking about it because I'm presenting it to them, and they start writing, and then they're like, okay, what did I learn from this experience? And now you are creating meaning of your life, and that brings peace.
I mean, I've done classes, Writing to Heal, saying take a trauma in your life, and we're going to write about why we went through it and what we learned from it, so we can move forward. Because as much as something might seem like such a burden, there's a blessing in there somewhere.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So how long have you been doing legacy letter writing and teaching this particular type of writing?
I've been doing it probably for 5 years. I've been being mentored by Rachel Freed. There's only a few of us. She's 85, and she's letting
and these
go.
are her books here, which
I'm
you
gonna
can see are very well loved books. She's got Your Legacy Matters and Women. I have to read the
Women's
title.
Lives, Women's Legacy. Yeah, and she, I took her facilitator training, and I loved it. And then she was putting an all call, like, who would like to carry this work forward when I pass away? And I was like, I do, because it's so meaningful for me. I write now legacy letters for my kids' birthdays, for all different weddings, for different occasions.
So what was the training like? Like, how can someone, if they wanted to become a training?
Our next training, we have a training in October, but the next training is where there's openings will be in the spring. And I don't have the dates with me right here, but it will go up probably in November on our websites. But I do want to point out these books to people because they are really great.
They are good. I bought them. I read them.
Yeah. Your Legacy Matters. This is like so great. I mean, you can see how well loved this book is of mine. And she really articulates and goes into the work in depth. And then this one right here is different than this book, and it's more specifically geared towards women. And I highly recommend, if this kind of writing is piquing your interest, you may want to pick up one of these books. You can get them on Amazon, or even better, at your favorite bookstores, or come to Angela's yWrite.
I'm like, you can get Rachel Friedman's book, but how can they take a class with you?
You can do that I'll be here at the yWrite conference November 1st,
Yep, first
I believe
Saturday.
it is. And you can experiment and see how it feels to you, if it feels resonant. I also have a website called journeytotheheart.net where you can find out when I'm doing trainings. And then also there's life-legacies.org. Which is a specific website for life legacy letter writing, where you also can find more information about life legacy letters and us as trainers and work that we're putting out
I'm
in
going
the
to
world.
put all those links, the links even to these books, the links to the conference, everything
Awesome.
on this episode. Again, it's a beautiful way to write. It's a beautiful way to even start your own memoir writing. So
It is a memoir. If you keep, what I tell people in my classes to do, especially ongoing classes, is have a folder, whether it be on your computer or in your file cabinet, for these legacy letter writings, and just keep all the ones you're doing, because eventually it's almost like a manuscript.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. How great would it be to have it all in one book, and share with everyone?
It's powerful. It's powerful.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I think the audience who has listened or watched here on YouTube or wherever you're watching it on your local cable channel, I thank you for doing that. I think we've definitely taught them how to write a legacy letter just based on this show, but I hope they're coming to the conference. So
I do too.
Thank you so much for coming in. I'm so blessed to know you. And
I feel the same. Thank you so much,
You're
Angela.
very welcome.
It's such a gift to be here.
Thank
Feel
you.
honored.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank you, the listening audience in Studio 954, for allowing me to do what I love, and that's to talk to writers about why they're writing. And, I'm doing this because it's a show that wasn't there when I was writing, and I wanted to know why people were writing. So this show helps me every episode, and I am very hopeful that it's helping you. And if you are looking to write your story, this is a time in every program that I give you a writing prompt. And it's something that you can do right after the show. You can set a timer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you have. It doesn't have to be, a binge writing day for 8 hours. It doesn't have to be a full hour. And if you can't do it now, maybe you set time at whatever time of day is good for you to sit down and start writing. So today's prompt, what I want you to do is when the show is over, set that microwave timer, tell, your phone, give me 10 minutes and just start writing. And the fact that we've talked about these legacy letters today, I want you to think about maybe someone's birthday coming up in your family or a friend, and maybe just start writing a letter to them about how important that friendship is to you. Maybe start with how you've met. Start with maybe a certain memory that you've had with them. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's somebody that every year you go to the local fair, because of course the New England Fair is right here by me. Maybe you've gone to the fair every year and you've gotten your picture taken together and you just reminisce about that picture, or the quahog that you ate. But just write a letter to them with at least one memory in it and why that memory is important to you. And you're going to start your writing process right there. So happy writing. Please come to the conference on November 1st. Every year we host a conference on the first Saturday of November right here in Agawam, and you can see the link below, and of course you can follow on Facebook and all the social media accounts to get more information. And as always, thank you for watching the show. I'm Angela Grout, and I will see you next time. Bye.